As you can see, that vandal badly damaged the car and spray painted the words, "Mike is a cheater," all over the vehicle. Well, the veteran who owns the car told him.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of Zohran, let's go. He was on CNN, and what a fucking king. What a fucking king.
Is a clear flashpoint.
This is some great editing. Okay. You've linked this like 5 times. This better be fucking good.
I went to Japan and I got both of you guys gifts. This one's for you. This is a Palestinian movement in Japan.
Thank you.
Solidarity with Palestine. And this is a little train.
Oh.
For public transit. But
all right, listen, great to see you. Okay, take care.
All right. I went to Japan and I
That did not happen, chat. That's a lie. That's a lie.
Case in point, meet Zohran Mamdani. He's the brash democratic socialist who's internet famous for bringing the fight to the Trump immigration czar. Watch this.
How many more New Yorkers will you detain? How many more New Yorkers without charge? Do you believe in the First Amendment? Do you believe in the First Amendment, Tom Bowman?
But with that new notoriety, Mamdani is now the target of vicious, vulgar attacks.
Go yourself, you terrorist. Matter of fact, you're gonna wash my European feet. You filthy sand. Hey, you Muslim piece of shit. I hope a illegal puts a bullet in your head. Get out of my country.
So a lot of this, Zohran, is coming from in the wake of a lot of these arrests that actually have had to do with pro-Palestinian activists and protesters, but also the broader immigration issue has really hit the city hard.
Yeah, and I think we've seen that when a New Yorker who's a permanent legal resident of this country was dragged, disappeared, and detained without charge. And those are the reasons that I asked those questions of Tom Homan, which is at the forefront of many New Yorkers' minds. Do you believe in the First Amendment? What are the charges that you're holding Mahmoud Khalil on? And how many more New Yorkers will you detain? And when I said those things, these are the messages that I received, and it's just a glimpse into what was flooding into my office the day after and the days after. But I'm not intimidated. I shared them to show what happens when a Trump administration that ran on cheaper prices, on lowering the cost of living, and on a message that resonated with New Yorkers on Fordham Road and Hillside Avenue, has instead shown itself completely unable and uninterested in delivering that, and instead is pivoting to the one thing it can do, which is deliver cruelty to its perceived enemies.
I mean, if Trump were doing as he said he would do and focus on the criminals, that would be one thing. But there is also a lot happening where criminals, people who are not criminals, are getting caught up in this, and people who have points of view, perhaps, that are opposed to by this administration are getting caught up too.
Well, I think obviously the vast majority of people that ICE has engaged with are criminals, have either criminal convictions, have orders of detention against them, or orders of deportation. As ICE goes into different communities across the country to engage these folks, they are coming across other individuals. Obviously, there will be...
Zohran being saying he's not intimidated makes him look good. Yeah, it's called being a good politician and standing up to your enemies. Like, if you're going to be a good politician, you need to stand up to your enemies and be like, fuck this piece of shit.
The instances, unfortunately, where there is either a misidentification or a mistake that is made. But the vast majority of people who have been detained are those who have committed criminal acts either here in the United States or committed crimes in their country of origin before they came here illegally.
Isn't that why due process is important in this conversation? And that's one of the things that the Trump administration is pushing back really hard on. This idea that they can just deport people using a wartime power that is disputed, and they don't have to, say, prove that they are actually in a Venezuelan gang. It could be a soccer player who's here on an asylum claim.
I mean, and this is at the core of what has outraged so many New Yorkers, is that we still don't know the charges for which they have detained Mahmoud Khalil. And what we've seen, in fact, is an inability to prove them because there are no charges. This is an attack on the First Amendment. It's an attack on one of the most core things about being an American, which is the right to engage in political speech without fear that your government is going to lock you up.
Well, I would strongly disagree here. First of all, Mahmoud Khalil came here on a student visa, did ultimately get a green card. But the fact is, you are not entitled to either a visa or a green card. And under the Immigration and Nationality Act, the Secretary of State does have broad power when somebody is engaged in conduct that is perceived to be a threat or has a negative impact on our foreign policy. That is what they are utilizing with respect to Mahmoud Khalil.
What is the conduct?
And the bottom line here is that these protests, by and large, and I went to Colombia at the height of those protests back in April of last year. I've been to Colombia multiple times. I listened to the chants that were being engaged with. And the bottom line is, in many of these instances, these students have been engaged in rhetoric and conduct that has threatened the safety and well-being of Jewish students on campus. They have been engaged in The
only thing that happened at Columbia was a bunch of IDF soldiers threw stink bombs on pro-Palestinian protesters. And the NYPD used maximal force to attack them. Give me a fucking break.
Conduct that promotes propaganda put forth by a terrorist organization.
Promotes propaganda put forth by a terrorist organization. AKA, you said something I don't like, therefore you're doing propaganda by a terrorist organization, right? Notice that they're not saying they said this, which is not correct because XYZ, right? Notice how they don't do that. Notice that whenever you're talking about these situations, whether it's Asmongold or Mike Lawler or any of these fucking cowards, they don't talk about what people said and why it's incorrect. They just call it propaganda and they're linked with terrorist organization. It's all rhetoric. It's all bullshit. They don't quote the guy and say, he said that you should kill Israelis. He did that. He attacked this person on this day. He violated this by doing this. They say like he was a part of a group that said this or this group did this. Blah, blah, blah. There was never any actual quotes. There's no evidence that he did anything. They don't even try to debunk the arguments by, if the arguments are so bad, why aren't you bringing the arguments up? If what he did was so evil, why aren't you bringing him up?
Isn't that speech?
And that is...
But isn't that speech, Congressman?
But I'm sorry.
Isn't protest and
you are here? If you are here
rhetoric,
on a visa,
I know, but
if you are
but
here
the
on a
question
visa,
is,
you are not.
I know,
He's
but the
not on a
question is-
visa. He's a lawful permanent resident. That's not a visa, you dumb fuck. He's been given permanent status.
Visa.
The question is, what you're describing sounds like speech to me. Is it speech in your view?
Well, you think at the height of these protests that there was not physical violence? You did not hear speech
Okay, if he did physical violence, then show the violence that he did. If he said threats, show the threats that he did. You know, prove the crime, you dumb fuck.
Threatening.
Hey, look, I think that maybe there was.
Well-being.
I think that if there was physical violence, then absolutely that should be prosecuted.
And we would.
So when you're calling for the eradication
100%
of Jews,
that should be prosecuted. But the question is, but hold on a second, Jamal. Just a second. The question is, have they brought up evidence of that? Has there been physical violence accused here?
No.
And the answer is no.
Well,
so I'm wondering.
The process will play itself out, but the Secretary of State has broad authority
maybe
under
the
that
argument is
legislation.
Yeah, speech is a means to revoke someone's visa, and if that's the case, the administration should absolutely say so that can be litigated.
When you are engaged in propaganda on behalf of a terrorist organization, yes, that is a problem.
Not.
Sorry.
Brother Mahmoud Khalil is here legally. He is a student.
Nobody is arguing that.
Okay, so he's here legally, engaging in peaceful protests, and he was detained. We have no idea what the charges are. You don't arrest and then throw charges at the wall to figure out what sticks to try to get him deported. Thank God there was resistance and he was not deported. You mentioned the Secretary of State in the broad jurisdiction there, but you used the key word, perceived. If the Secretary of State has an agenda like this administration, and they perceive someone to be a threat because they use language that they don't like or understand, they can lock them up and possibly deport them. Free speech is free speech. Brother Khalil did not engage in any crime, did not hurt anyone physically. Free speech is free speech, and it's under attack under this dictatorship. And if you question the agenda of this particular administration, Elon Musk used a Nazi sign at the inauguration. This is what we're dealing with this administration. There's an agenda to support and uphold white supremacy.
Joe?
Just, again, the obsession with Elon Musk. Just to go back to what we talked about last segment. Taking this back to 40,000 feet, this is another 80-20 issue where I think Trump is winning, because the sympathy out there for people who on October 8th, the day after October 7th, October 8th, they started in the streets here in New York, and what that amounted to was cheering on the people in Hamas who crossed over the border and murdered babies and women and children.
What babies? Like, that's the thing. Like, you have, I think there was one child that was accidentally killed as a bullet went through a safe house door. They said 40 beheaded babies. That's not true. That was a lie. Meanwhile, they just killed 400 people, most of whom were women and children, by violating the ceasefire. What are you talking about, man?
In their beds. That's what happened. So spare me, because I don't have an ounce of sympathy for anyone who was out there, part of those protests, cheering them on. Goodbye, good riddance. Maybe I'm wrong.
He wasn't cheering them on. You are wrong.
I think we're all talking about speech versus deporting someone, or attempting to deport someone. And I think this will be held in the courts. And I think what you've seen from Donald Trump and the administration is that when it goes to the courts and they don't rule in their favor, they end up attacking the judge. And I think you'll continue to see this. I actually agree with you that I think that the administration believes that this is a big win for them. I think that having these fights in court, they love that. They love the battle to try and showing the images of people being arrested or deported or any of those things. I think they are truly enjoying that. They don't understand the impacts that it's having on our country and the long-term impacts and how people are angry about them. But I do think that this was their plan all along.
And Muslim doesn't. Go ahead, Zohran.
Well, look, I think it's, as you said, it's critical for us to be fighting this dismantling of the First Amendment. And what is so galling is that it's not just a dismantling done by a Republican administration in D.C. It's one that's also being done with the support through the silence of a number of other candidates for mayor, namely disgraced former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who took 72 hours to say even a word. And when he issued that statement, we still didn't know whether he actually opposed the detainment or whether he was calling for the release of Mahmoud Khalil. And this city needs someone to lead it that is willing to fight the Trump administration, not collaborate with it in the manner of Eric Adams or that which Andrew Cuomo is running.
I think what the general public sees is a Democratic Party that is more interested in defending people like Mahmoud Khalil than they are victims of crime here in New York City.
You want to defend the First Amendment? Well, how about somebody out there has been a victim of a crime? Have you thought about that? Not so interested in having free speech anymore, are you?
They are Jewish students who have been subjected to vile anti-Semitism across these college campuses and universities.
Vile anti-Semitism from the people who call... I mean, like, this is the thing that's insane. This is the thing that's insane. This is identity politics. They use this identity politics shit. That's the thing that's incredible about liberalism. And is that Republicans are liberals. They just wish they were able to say that you're being racist against me for being white. Like, that's it. That's what they want to be able to do. They want to be able to go out there and go, you're being racist against me for being white, and that's so unfair. That's what they want. They are identity politics liberals. It's like when people are like, you disagreed with me on something, you racist. It's the same shit. Liberalism.
Or than they did seeing Democrats refuse to stand for a 13-year-old boy who's
What's the point of debating people like Lawler? They refuse to listen and are only there to push their warped narrative. The answer is because Snowbun. That's a good question. The answer is going on CNN and standing up to these right-wingers and being a prominent candidate for New York City mayor. The big problem we have on the left right now, is that so many people think we can't do anything. This has been the main goal of people like Barack Obama for over 20 years, which is convince left-leaning people to accept less and we can't do anything and we need to be on the back foot. That has been the project of neoliberals and the Democratic Party for decades. Your ideas are pie in the sky. We can't do anything. What else are you supposed to do? You need to just cooperate with the Republicans. The American people are center right. That has been the entire, because they're center right, the right wingers in the Democratic Party, and they want center right policies and they want to support the rich. The main thing they do to left leaning people who support the Democrats is convince them that we can't do anything and that we're losing. And you just have to accept eating another shit sandwich because that's better than being shot in the head. That is their fucking entire project. So when people like Zohran go on CNN and they stand up to this guy and then the polls pop up and he's got the most fundraising money and he's doing well in the polls and he's a competitor, people start to think, well, maybe we could do something actually. Because the number one problem we have is people don't believe that change can happen. That is the result. That is the crisis that we on the left face. People don't believe us when we say we could do things. And that's part of the reason why Trumpism is granting us freedom. This is the thing that I told you would happen before the election. When people were like, Mike, aren't you worried that Trump's going to win and he's going to do horrible shit? And I said, I think Trump's going to win because people on the left don't have a vision. We need to if we want to beat Trump, you need to have a vision. Yes, I am worried about Trump winning. No, I don't want Trump to win. But if you want Kamala Harris to win, you have to push her to be better. You can't just say I'm going to vote blue no matter who because Trump is so bad. You have to convince Kamala Harris to be worth fighting for because that's the only way the left ever wins in America. Whenever you tell people they have to eat their medicine, they have to eat their vegetables, that's when Republicans win. When they have something they can believe in, even if it's bullshit, that's when the left wins. And Kamala Harris didn't give anybody anything to believe in. And that's what I told you was going to happen. That's why I was convinced she was going to lose. And she did because of that. And I tried my best to make her better by telling her, hey, if you don't have these positions, I will not support you. And I tried to raise my voice and give voice to the voiceless millions of people who agreed with me and then didn't vote for her. They either didn't showed up, they voted third party, and 10% of them voted for fucking Trump. That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to say, hey, we're a big block of people out here. You need to run on something. You need to change your positions. You need to separate yourself from Joe Biden. And they wouldn't do it. And that's the crisis we're in today. The crisis we're in today is the Democratic Party of no, we can't. That's too, you're going too fast. No, we can't. The very, very first thing we need to do is convince regular left-leaning people that yes, we can actually do things. And that's why Barack Obama won, because his message was, yes, we can. Now, it was all, yes, we can was bullshit. He was a fraud. And that's the other crisis we're in. We had our moment for a 21st century FDR, and he punted the football because he was a right winger. And we may never get that chance again. I don't know. I can't see the Democrats ever getting to 60 votes because people hate them. But the very first thing we have to do is convince people that we can. And that's what Donald Trump is convincing a lot of people. It turns out the president's really powerful if he just decides, fuck it. If the president just decides he wants to stop funding something, he can stop funding it, apparently. If he wants to say he can ignore judicial orders, it turns out that he can. The parliamentarian stopped me is not working anymore.
Cancer, who was made a secret service
for participating in those same protests. These are students that deserve their rights to be respected. These are ones that deserve to be recognized by those of us who aspire to be leaders across the state.
I got to leave it there, but I just want to point out, I mean, no one is supporting the harassment of Jewish students.
Yes, they are.
No,
Respectfully, yes,
no
they
one
are.
is.
Yes, they are.
What else are you cheering for? That's great. When you march in the street.
Hang on a second.
I have gone to these
Let me
protests.
be clear.
I've seen
I'm
them.
talking about here at this table.
Of course not.
Okay?
That's how it
There was
is.
no
one-
also
no
nearby
one at this-
administration. They charged
No one
Hamas
at this
and they
table
protected Jewish
supports
students.
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, except
or
they failed
violence
to move
or anything
forward
like
on
that.
numerous instances
Congressman,
of anti-Semitism
but I
that we
do
saw
think,
all across the
Congressman,
country. And Chuck Schumer refused.
They brought a lot of
Congressman
moving
and
forward with the
Sochi.
Anti-Semitism Awareness Act.
Just give me a
Refused
second
8
here.
months.
The other thing that I want to point out here is that if the Trump administration is making speech, public or private, a means for deportation, they should make that case in court. That is all. That is the only question.
Again, the
I think that is
Secretary
added.
has broad power under the Immigration and
I think
Nationality
that's-
Act. That is what they are
I think that's
utilizing.
fine. I think that's fine if that is the
That is
theory.
what they are utilizing.
They got to bring it to court, and the courts will decide whether that is appropriate in this country. State Representative Zohran Mamdani, as you can tell, he's running for mayor of New York City. Thank you very much.
Told us she has no idea who Mike is.
Mike. I don't know who you are. I don't know where you are. But you may want to start changing your ways. Change your ways.